we made it to Montana. My original goal was to get here with a couple hours of daylight left so I could go to a glassing spot with a reasonable walk-in and at least try and put some eyes on the hills of my first kind of primary spot that I wanted to hit up. But between daylight savings time and the change in time zone, it's just not going to happen. So instead, what I'm trying to do, there's basically 4 to 5 main different parking spots that I've scouted out, and I'm trying to drive to each one of them right now to see, A, can I get there? Are there any roads washed out? Are there any boulders? Is there anything impassable? If I can get there, B, are there a bunch of other people there? So that I can decide where I'm gonna pass out tonight and where I'll head in tomorrow morning. So a perfect example of why this is such a great idea is that I was going down my first road. I got maybe quarter of the way down, maybe 5 of 20 miles, something like that. And there was a fairly significant washout. Like, I could have probably driven through it. But one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're solo hunting, especially when you're 1,000 miles from home and you don't know anybody in the local towns, is I dial up that safety notch like 2 big clicks, because I just don't want to even contemplate what it would be like getting my truck stuck way back here. There's no cell service. I know no one in the local area. I mean, it would just be a nightmare. So as soon as I felt kind of twitchy, plus the road was getting more snowy and icy, and it was going up very aggressively, and I felt pretty confident that even if I went through the initial washout, there was going to be something else in the next mile or two, or it might have just got too slick for me to drive up on such a steep road. So I made the responsible call and backed out. So what we're going to do now, I got about a 20-minute drive to get back to the last known cell reception. It's 5:15 at night now. For all intents and purposes, there's no hunting going on. It's too dark. I'm going to go back to where the cell reception died. I'm going to make my couple nightly texts, make sure my wife knows I'm okay, checking out a couple things online with the regulations that I just want to double check. And then I'm gonna go to my next batch of parking spots. These are much closer to like higher grade road systems, so I'm feeling quite confident I can drive all the way to them. However, because they're so easy to get to, I think there's a higher likelihood that I'm gonna run into people. And then I wanna be hiking by 4:30 at the latest, because it's gonna take me about an hour and a half to hike in, and I wanna be sitting on my glassing knob by 6 a.m. with my glass out, waiting for that sun to just, peek over the hilltops and get it light enough that I can see what's going on. So there we are. Okay, it's morning of day 1. I'm all packed up with the truck. I checked out 3 other locations and they were all no-goes for various reasons. One had a river that was too big to cross. The other one had a road that was washed out. So I finally ended up at this location. Now, it was 9 or 10 o'clock at night, so it was pretty dark when I got here, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going into, but it looks like a 2 to 3 year old burn on the map. Got about a 2-mile hike in to a decent glassing spot, and then there's another decent glassing spot about another 2 miles past that. So I'll either head in and spend the day at the first one, spend a chunk of the day at the first one and a chunk of the day at the second one, or a half a day if it looks just garbage, come back out and find another spot. All right, here we go. That was crazy. Holy shit. Okay, I've literally spent the last 3.5 hours climbing up this mountain. Parked at 4,000 feet. I'm currently sitting at 7,400 feet. and I'm about 6 miles deep. It was not supposed to take this long. I was really discouraged the whole way up here. Timber's way thicker than I thought it was gonna be. Said there was a big burn in this area. I mean, yeah, there's some singed tops, but it's thick, man. Really worried. I was 200 feet from the top where I was hoping to find a good glassing spot. All of a sudden, I bump a buck like 50 yards in front of me. Here's exactly what just happened. So I'm walking up this trail right here. I get to where I'm standing right now, and right there, a buck jumps. And he goes this way, stops right here. Now, I've got a fair bit of experience hunting blacktail, and the thing when you bump a blacktail, I don't have much experience hunting mule deer. That's why I'm going to my blacktail experience. You just don't move at all. So I held perfectly still. I have my rifle on a Kafaru gunsling, so it hangs like right here on my backpack. Unclipped it, took the cover off the scope, chambered around, left my backpack on, bino harness, whole 9 yards. And then this all happened. I was able to pull up my scope here, and basically on 3 separate occasions through this area, I would get my scope up, he'd jump. I walked in a little bit further. I got my scope up and he would jump. Then he actually started coming this way down towards me. And so I crept through here, and he's just walking like snail's pace, maybe 30, 40 yards in front of me right here. I get to this spot right here and I see this big open shooting lane. So I'm like, okay, this is too messy. I bring my scope up and I'm putting my eye in the scope on the buck, in the scope on the buck, and I'm following. Dude literally walks right into my scope. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was an aggressive quartering away, but he was definitely quartering away. So I brought the shot back behind the last rib, hoping to catch the opposing lung on the way out. Kept it a little bit low because I'm shooting from uphill. I'm shooting a 300 Win Mag, so I'm like, if I touch this guy, he's toast. Touched it off, boom! Kicks, hind legs. I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. I watch him run for like 40 yards, and then he goes out of sight, and I hear a crash. And I'm like, okay. But then I think I hear some more noises. I think there might have also been some other deer lurking around. So I'm like, oh, maybe, you know, I could have missed. It felt good, but you never know. There's always that doubt that creeps in. So anyways, I go back. I'd left my scope cover on the ground at the trail, got there, and then I started walking. And this was my shooting lane back up. I was standing right at the base of, I was in between those 2 trees. So from here, I'm like, it's great, there's snow. It's not fresh snow, but I can tell the fresh deer tracks from the old deer tracks. So I'm walking, I'm following tracks. Not one single spot of blood. By now, I wouldn't say I'm convinced that I missed, but it's definitely occurring to me as a possibility I might have to embrace. So I'm walking. Now there's a bit of a rise in front of me. And I thought I watched him run over the rise. So I got all the way to the rise, and then I stopped right here. And I'm like, And I'm looking. What's that? Literally not 75 yards from where I shot him. One note about this, I have not touched this buck yet. I want to share with you exactly how I experienced this interaction. I I will clean him up and get some good pictures later on. So I don't do this out of disrespect for the buck. I do this out of the respect for the authenticity and the sincerity of the moment that I want to share with you guys. So I'm walking, and there he is. Isn't he gorgeous? Look at him. Decent 3x4. So there it is. This is actually my first mule deer. I live in coastal British Columbia, and I've killed a fair number of blacktails, Columbia blacktail and Sitka blacktail. You kind of got to go interior from where I live to get to the mule deer. Yeah, and I've never hunted mule deer before. So this is my first mule deer. He's not a giant, but he's a mature buck, a nice 3x4. I'll take him. I'm very happy with this. So another nice thing about this, it's decent. It's only 8:30 in the morning, so time to break this guy down, pack him out, head back down to the truck. All right, we're packed up and ready to go. Deer's processed, loaded up, left it bone in because I'd like to make some broth and try some other cool stuff with wild game bones. And normally I don't have the chance to do that because I'm so far back and it's so heavy. And I'm still really far back and it is still really heavy, but fuck it, we're gonna do it anyways. I wanted to take a minute and go over my pack system. So this is the Kifaru Fulcrum. So it has all my day gear, all my camera gear, days of food, day of water, and an entire mule deer bone in. Now, she's a beast. She's heavy, but the way these packs are built, they really distribute the weight quite well. It's about 6 miles back to the truck, but it's all reliably downhill. Nothing crazy, no scree, no shale, nothing like, life-threatening. So I should be okay. Yeah, let's have at her. All right, we're on the way down. I have no idea what this weighs, and I don't want to. 6 miles from here to the truck. Just gonna take it slow and steady. Maybe stop 1, 2, 3 times. We'll see how we go. Make sure I'm having snacks regular. Just take my time, one foot in front of the other. Here we go. The going has got a little tough. The same thing happened to me when I was in New Mexico a couple months ago. Basically, the front sections of my quads, little teardrop section you get there, if I'm coming downhill for too long with too much weight on my back, and I think this might be a function of dehydration as well. I haven't drank as much water today as I should have, maybe like 1.5 liters, and it should have been more like 3 or 4. Anyways, they start to spasm, and it gets to the point where I just kind of collapse. This was as far as I could make it, because like they seize up, and then my legs won't move. And the only solution seems to be taking a break and then really massaging them. And that seems to get the blood back in there. It's brutally painful. It's like a Charlie horse cramp. That's what it feels like. Like it, bam, it comes on and you're just like, ah! Anyways, so I'm gonna take 10 minutes. I'm gonna sit here. Don't have any water left, so there's nothing I can do about that. And I'm just gonna keep, working them in a little bit. And if I gotta break it up into 15 more sections in order to get this done, gotta do what I gotta do. Holy shit, we made it. Pack's down, we're at the truck. 13 miles round trip, 3,200 feet in elevation up, another 3,200 down, equivalent of like 320 flights of stairs, unless my Apple Watch is completely out to fucking lunch. I am nuked. Here's the plan. I'm gonna load up the truck, I'm gonna put this meat on ice, we're gonna head to town, we're gonna get a hotel for the night, we're gonna hop on Onyx, and we're gonna look for some elk country. I thought this was gonna be way more open in here because of that burn that rolled through here in 2017. And this is like not even glassable. This is like still hunting timber country. And I want some glassable elk country. So we got a couple days left. Mule deer is taken care of. Let's find some new country. Let's go for an elk. Welcome to day 2. Got a good night's sleep in a hotel, washed up, had a bunch of food, feeling good, still a little beat up from yesterday, so we're gonna take a bit easy. We're gonna go check out some of these ranches that are linked up with the Block Management Access Program. It's gonna be interesting to see. I've just never participated in a program like this before, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any game on these, what the pressure's like, and all the rest of it. So we're gonna be doing a lot of driving from spot to spot today, and then get out and do a bunch of mini hikes, and we'll see how it goes. See if we can turn something up. So this is what you do. You basically find these boxes. We're on a big ranch. Got these coupons inside. You fill it out with your details, and then you put half the coupon in the box, and you keep the other coupon in your pocket. There's always a tons of different rules, so you want to look for the PDFs that have the property rules and the property boundaries. This one, for example, has a 5 vehicle limit per day. And there's one other guy that got here before me, but I just signed in. So now we're gonna drive around the property and see what it looks like. So I've never tried anything like this before, so I'm interested to see how it goes. Okay, so it took me about 3 ranches to realize I'm not a ranch type hunter. I think it's a phenomenal program, but I'll be honest, part of the excitement and part of what I'm after when I go hunting is like picking a spot on a map and like trying to figure it out. And when you show up at a place that has like a sign-in box and like pre-marked roads and you can go here and not there, it's just not the same vibe. So we ditched that plan. We're on to plan B, which is essentially just creeping down back roads in big national forest country and looking for stuff that looks promising. So I found a real out of the way corner, and we're just gonna do a little hike through here and see if we can see any sign, see what we can turn up. One of the interesting things is that when I showed up, I was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't a bunch of snow on the ground, because it helps you track an animal. It almost lets you look back in time when you're glassing a hillside, because you can see the trails of where they've been and how often they're going certain places, and it really helps out. So I was disappointed that there was no snow on the ground. Now it started snowing. Now that's a pain in the ass because I can't actually glass through it to look at any of the cool areas. So hopefully it comes more in squalls, like up and down, and I can get some productive glassing in between the snow squalls. And it doesn't look like it's going to snow the rest of the week. So maybe if it dumps enough today, that could serve me some purpose for the rest of the week. Either way, slightly ironic. So I've actually started to find some really nice country, but the fog now has rolled in so thick I can't see more than 100 or 2 yards. So I'm taking points of places that would make good hike-in spots tomorrow. That seems to be the type of like broken ground, not too big, visible but still patchy timber, like good glassing country but also good elk habitat. So I'm getting quite a few of those points on the map. So hopefully we'll have a good game plan in place for tomorrow. So I found a closed road, and the sign said that it was closed to provide elk security and to protect an elk calving area. So it's just no motorized traffic. So I'm kind of hoping there's actually elk back here. I should have a decent glassing knob in another 300-400 yards. Fog's still pretty thick down the valley, so I don't know what I'll be able to see, but at least we're trying. Well, that's a wrap on day 2. Covered a lot of country, looked at a lot of country, did not see shit. I've realized I've been here for 2 days and I've only saw 1 deer and I killed it. I think I'm gonna bounce regions. I'm in region 2 right now. I'm not seeing the action you need to be seeing. I haven't found good sign. I mean, I'm sure they're around, I just don't know where. And this is a particularly timbery region. I think I might bounce down to 3. I don't know. I'm going to run into town to where I got cell service, and I'm going to crack open Go Hunt and Onyx. And I'm just going to start doing some more research and hopefully come up with a game plan and then drive through the night if I have to. If I find something really far away, I don't really give a shit where I got to go. I just want to go somewhere where I'm going to see some animals. And if I got to do big hikes, no problem with that either. Anyways, it was an enjoyable day. Just wish I'd have seen more animals. So, still got 2 more days to go. So let's see if we can get this done. Okay, I think I made a good call. So I bounced 3 hours last night to a whole new region. Woke up crack of dawn this morning, headed out to an area. I'm now sitting beside a field with like, fuck man, I don't know, 100 cows, cow elk, and they're mewing like crazy. All right, welcome to the morning of day 3. We already had a great little cow encounter to start the morning off, so that should be, energizing for the day. Like I mentioned, we made a big move. We're about an hour and a half southwest of Dillon, Montana this morning. Now we're slowly cruising up this mountain road. We're about halfway up right now. I was gonna bomb to the top, but it's very foggy still. So now that it's light enough for me to do a little bit of glassing, I'm actually taking my time as I drive up. Every time I hit a little opening like this, I break out the binoculars, I scan the timberline, and then a new thing that I'm trying to do too is I'll actually use my binos to look at the snow maybe 100 to 150 yards out. I'd see an elk with my naked eye if it was standing there. But I'm looking for tracks with the binoculars. So haven't turned anything up that way yet, but I think it's an interesting approach, so we'll see how it goes. I've got 2 days left, today and tomorrow, and I'm just gonna go hard both days. And I think I really like the looks of this country for still hunting. It would make a lot of sense that there's some bulls hanging out at the top of this mountain in little timber patches, nibbling on the little meadows close by that still have brush and grass that are standing up above this snow. So once I get to the top, I'm gonna make a game plan and probably do a series of loops through timber patches out into meadows, just walking real slow, looking for sign, and seeing if we can turn something up that way. I'll keep you posted. So I seem to need to relearn this lesson every time I come hunting. I'm an extraordinarily goal-focused individual, which can be very positive, but can also be very negative. I find myself worrying so intensely about whether or not I'm going to be successful on a hunt. It starts to ruin the hunt for me. I start to get very anxious and I start to get very stressed out. And I was driving up the mountain this morning, and it occurred to me, I'm in my truck, solo, in the backcountry, driving up the mountains of Montana, looking for elk. Like, there's no other place on earth that I would rather be right now. And that, as much as I think it's important to have a goal and work towards that goal, if I am unable to be present in the moment, I really need to reevaluate my priorities in the way that I approach life, because I'm going to miss out on a lot. So, the goal for the remaining 2 days is just to enjoy the experience while doing whatever I can to be successful on my hunt. Just making sure to also prioritize being present and enjoying the experience, because that's something I need to work on heavily. Anyways, like I said, I think I need to relearn this it usually clicks in like halfway, like, oh, fuck, dude, you got to get your head out of your ass and pay attention to what's going on, because you're going to miss this experience if you don't. So I just thought I'd share that. So this is essentially the game plan for the next 2 days. Still hunt through the timber, get to little pockets and openings, post up at the edge, have a little sit, have a little glass, and just bounce from pocket to pocket, hoping to cut a fresh set of tracks. I think I've seen 50 rubs in the last 30 minutes of walking through the timber. Albeit some of them are from deer, but a lot of the ones are too high to be deer, and there's tracks everywhere through here. Most of them are pretty old, like at least 3 or 4 days, like this stuff here. I decided to take a little break for lunch. One thing when you're hunting in the cold, you want to keep moving to stay warm, but in the same breath, if you don't stop every now and then to eat, it'll hit you like a freight train later on in the day. You'll just blow your gas tank and you'll be dead. I've gone hypoglycemic as well, where I get low blood sugar and you start to get the shakes, and by the time that sets in, it's kind of like a little bit late to do anything about it. So it's important to take care of your nutrition while on the mountain. I must say, I just bought this Chamberlain down puffy from First Light, and this thing is amazing because it is freezing cold out here, and as soon as I put it on, my upper body was toasty warm. So I broke out the jet boil. I made a nice hot cup of coffee, and now I'm gonna have underbelly meals. I'm in this cool, like, little hollow right now. It's an amazing glassing spot. But again, this fog is just set in hardcore. It's supposed to clear up in an hour or two, so I might see how long I can, like, sit still. And hopefully this will clear up. If not, it's supposed to be clear tomorrow, and I might try and hike back here for sunrise, because this is just an awesome vantage point for a whole bunch of different basins. So cool. So I'm not doing so great at my plan to only spend half the day walking and then make my way back to the truck. The problem with cool country like this is I keep seeing like little pocket after little pocket after little pocket and just keep getting further and further away. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon now. I reckon I got 2.5, maybe 3 hours till dark, and I'm trying to come up with a good game plan for tomorrow. So I'm going to walk over to one more basin and then close the big loop back to the truck. But man, this is such awesome country. There's tracks everywhere, rubs everywhere. I feel like I'm right in them. I haven't seen any. It's pretty fucking cold too, so they could be holed up in like the weirdest little nooks and crannies. But I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling optimistic. Beautiful country. Just keep on keeping on. Super annoying. The creaking of like frozen trees rubbing against each other and blowing in the wind sounds eerily similar to cows mewing. So, cow elk. So I'll be walking along and I think I hear here. I think it's a fucking elk. Did you hear that? Hopefully the microphone can pick that up. But that's what I've been hearing all day. These like meow, meow. And for a split second you think it's an elk. And then you realize, nope, just a fucking tree. Okay, I just found some fresh tracks. About as fresh as it gets. The snow is still melted and kind of icy. Where the elk was laying, I'm pretty sure this is a bull, because he's alone and he's up high. This time of year the cows should be herded up and they should have the calves with them. I'm gonna follow these tracks and see what I can turn up. I only have about 45 minutes left of light, but it gives me a good starting place for tomorrow. I don't think this time of year these guys are going to cover a lot of ground. As long as I don't blow him out of here. He might just be hanging out in this patch of timber. All right, I made it. I'm back at the truck. It was a long, cold day. Fairly productive. And I'm left with a problem. Tomorrow's my last day. And I have 2 viable game plans. 1, head over to my glassing knob. 2, still hunt this patch of timber. I can think of a variety of pros and cons to each one, and it's really tough to decide. I think at the moment, I'm leaning towards the glassing knob. This is really thick in there, and unless that bull walks like 30 yards in front of you, you're not gonna get a shot. And because they're not bugling in the rut, you can't call them in. I just think this is a much lower percentage now. Fresher sign, but I did stomp all over the bedroom for the last 3 hours, so might have blown them out. Also, there was lots of 2-3 day old sign over that way. So the fact that they haven't been there in a couple days also lends some credibility to the theory that there's a higher likelihood they'll be over there tomorrow. Anyways, I'm sleeping up here tonight. It's supposed to be insanely cold, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, back of the truck. Gonna get rid of all my gear, get the bed set up in the back of the truck, and yeah, get some food and take these fucking boots off, man. I am tired and I'm hungry. All right, I thought I would give you a little tour of the crib. So I'm pretty happy with how this is set up. So let's just go clockwise. So that is the Mr. Heater little buddy. It seems to be cranking away. It's pretty damn cold out tonight, so that's a must. Little kitchen area here, about to make some dinner. Jipwell Mini Mo. Tub with a bunch of stuff I might need. Kept my boots in here so they don't freeze solid overnight. And I got some extra water and some snacks and all my breakfast stuff laid out there. And then I got a little charging station all set up. There's 2 big rings of LEDs for lights. Oh, and this mattress, I actually just had this made up. It's 3 squares of foam that are then sewn together with a cover so that it like folds, it tri-folds, so it'll fit in the back seat of my truck. And when I want to sleep in my truck, I just flip it out here and it's the exact length of my truck. I think that's everything. It's supposed to go down to like -20 or -25 degrees Celsius tonight. I got no fucking clue what that is in Fahrenheit. It's cold as fuck. So probably gonna leave the Mr. Buddy running all night. Yeah, should be good. Alright folks, welcome to the 4th and final day of our Montana late season mule deer and elk hunt. I could not have asked for a more beautiful last day. If it's going to happen, today's the day. Fog is finally lifted. Got all my glassing spots picked out. Going to go to 3 different locations I finally decided today. Spend a few hours at each and just hope for the best. So, I'm happy, I'm grateful, it's beautiful. Let's go find an elk. Okay, here's the deal. I already stopped at that one glassing knob for about 45 minutes. Didn't see anything. More importantly, didn't see any fresh tracks in the snow. So, moved on. Now, I'm gonna repeat the exact same path I took yesterday with a slight amendment. The theory being, I saw lots of 2 to 3 day old sign, so I'm hoping that I'll catch them on their way back through this area. Plus, there was tons of great little basins to glass that because the fog was so thick, I just couldn't. So I'll show you as I get to them, but essentially there's like 6 or 7 of these little pockets that open right up that I'm gonna post up at the corner of for like 10-15 minutes and just wait. Bounce through all those. Then I'm getting to like the best glassing knob that I found here. And I'm gonna sit there for a few hours today and like really pick apart the hill. So I'm feeling hopeful. far side of this meadow because of how dense the fog was. So I'm going to sit here for 5 or 10 minutes and just glass all the timber edge and look for fresh tracks. It didn't snow overnight, so if there's fresh tracks now, that means they happened last night or this morning, since I've been here last. Okay, I made it to my glassing spot. Been here for about 40 minutes so far. Done 2 scans of the area. I find it best to do a quick scan of where I think there is a higher likelihood of game, and then grid out once that quick scan's done. So I've done both of those. I'm going to sit down, have some lunch, and have some coffee, but here I'll show you what we're dealing with. So basically, I've seen a ton of tracks coming in and out of these timber patches. And I'm really focusing on glassing the timber edges when I scan back and forth, and then even looking for little pockets in the timber that are thin where I can see into the trees. Trying to find tracks in there. I'm thinking there's probably some elk holed up in there somewhere. There's too much sign for them not to be here. They just might not get up and walk around when I need them to get up and walk around. So we'll keep sitting and keep glassing. That's all we can do. All right, I gave it all I could. Sat there for 2.5, 3 hours. Saw zero movement. So I'm gonna head back to that patch of timber where I found that bed yesterday, and I'm gonna still hunt that for the rest of the day. It seems to be the tactic that works best for me, and at least then I'll feel like I'm being productive. After a few hours of glassing the same hill and seeing shit, it starts feeling pretty futile. Okay, we got about 2 hours of daylight left. Made it back to the truck, had a bit of lunch, had a big drink, and now we're going to spend the last 2 hours until it gets dark, basically creeping around this patch of timber where I found that bed yesterday. Just going to go real slow, listen for any animals. I mean, the odds are pretty fucking low. It's a bit of a Hail Mary, but when there's 2 hours left on your hunt, you don't go back to the truck and sit there like an asshole. You get your ass out in the woods and you make the best of what you got. Well, I did my best, but it's a no-go. Followed the tracks for maybe 300-400 yards. Took me about 45 minutes, and finally I'm at the edge of this kind of bluffy section of regen, and you can see sorta his tracks disappear off into the regen, and there's no way I'd be able to follow him through there. I could follow him, but he'd hear me coming a mile away, so there's really no point. And I got about 45 minutes of light left, so I'm just gonna creep my way back towards the truck and maybe pop across something. The frustrating part is he based on the other tracks I've seen in this particular area, it looks like they're doing a daily loop. And there must be either water, or there must be water down there and food up there, or water and food down there and bedding up there, or something. I feel like if I just had a couple more days, I could figure this out. And if I just sat in the right spot, I would catch these guys doing their thing. You know what I mean? Fuck. You run out of time. What are you going to do? Well, that's a wrap for 2019 late season Montana deer and elk. Feel super fortunate that I got to punch my deer tag. Got to eat my elk tag. Them's the breaks. 1 for 2. Ain't half bad. Well, it's exactly half bad, but we'll take it. I learned a lot on this trip. I don't know if there's anything I'd really do differently, because most of the decisions I would make now were based on the information that I received from the decisions I did make. You know, case in point, if I had another day up here, I think I could pattern those elk over here. But if I hadn't have done the walking I've done for the last 2 days, I wouldn't know that. So anyways, overall, it was a super enjoyable hunt. I'm looking forward to getting home. Just a quick 15-hour drive, and we'll be back at home.